Well, Andrew, it's an honor to have you in here.
Appreciate you in the
Andrew, I would like you to introduce yourself. What would you like the audience to know to start off?
For sure, man. My name is Andrew Huang. I'm a sophomore at USC right now, studying business of cinematic arts. I'm originally from the Bay Area, but I grew up in Shanghai. Went to high school in Portland, Oregon. It's a little bit about me: act, direct, all types of stuff. So yeah.
Dang, bros. Okay. To start off, do you remember how we met each other?
Ooh, or I know, I met you in the Burncraft hallways. I remember that part. You know, I had R.A. Trey right there. Dude, the first time we formally met, I don't remember the first time. I remember we would have short conversations in Burncraft sometimes.
How did I know that you got into acting? How did I know you into acting? How did we get that first? Because I remember it was the project I was in the hub or something. But I'm trying to remember how I even got you on that.
Yeah. Was it through Diana or something? Was it through Diana? Oh, was it because you were in the one of the BCA films or something like that? And I texted you about it.
You know what? I feel like that makes sense.
The house always wins.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Yes, you're so right.
I think maybe I saw you in that and I texted you about that. Something like that.
And then I know I saw you in what was the film? Oh no, I forget the name of the movie every time. It's with the loaves.
Oh,
yeah, the turkeys.
I know where we're at. I remember this. So the first time we worked on a project together, I don't know if this is going off though. Was the People We Miss?
Yes.
Because I had to record those voice lines, and we recorded it in Bertina Hall.
Okay, you're right. That's what I was blanking on.
So we did that, and then after you edited the Moon's Eat Turkey with 7 Swords. Yeah.
Absolutely. People We Miss. Yes. Actually, my the film is on my drive, but I gave the drive to I think it was the director or the editor, or no, the director for People We Miss.
Oh, Katie, yeah.
Yes, and so she still has it. So.
Also, so it's done.
Well, I think they're still editing. I think, maybe I think so. I hope so.
I don't know. I forgot about it. Honestly, I don't remember what.
I think it made So maybe, but yeah. I mean, let's start off with how did you get into acting?
For sure, bro. I started acting in 2nd grade, and it was because we had the school play. And so everyone wants to be a part of the school play, you know? So I kind of just rode that wave. But my mom works in marketing. So a really big, I guess I found to love myself to do school shows, doing theater. But she I guess reinforced it because if they ever needed a kid, when I was little, she saw an ad in the newspaper for I think my first official shoot was Wells Fargo, and I was 2.
That is so
And
cool.
she was you got paid a few $100 and we just showed up and they just took pictures of you, something like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think from that, she was a big encouraging factor, and you think this is cool, I think you should continue with it, and she encouraged me a lot for that. So yeah.
Did you do a lot of theater in high school?
Yeah, I in high school especially, I did a lot with the theater department, outside of just the shows itself, expanding the network and filming the troupe, all that. So I mean it's always been a big part of my life. I think it's a central thing. At high school, I dropped a lot of things to focus on acting.
Absolutely.
I stopped playing basketball. I stopped doing a lot of things. So,
yeah.
Man.
Okay. And then, so you already had an intense acting background before college.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it intense, but it was pretty extensive. Yeah, I was it's always been I've wanted to act for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that's what I wrote about to get into USC. That's what I always tell people is I actually started because I watched The Amazing Spider-Man 2 with my dad, and I was oh, that's so cool. I really like that movie. And he was Spider-Man's real name is Andrew. It's Andrew Garfield. And I was like, oh, it's a real person. And like that at that moment, I was like, oh, like I could do it.
Okay,
right?
that's cool.
And so I think like that was like a big factor for me. I'm like, there are people that like make the magic happen that I was watching as a kid. So I was like, I want to be a part of that.
That's wonderful. Wow. So did you create anything of your own before college?
Yeah.
Or was it just purely acting?
I actually I didn't really touch film. Like theater was like that medium that I really liked working in. In terms of like creating, my biggest I think this is still like my proudest achievement to date. Was sophomore year, like we had COVID. My sophomore year of high school, we had COVID.
Yeah.
So the entire school shut down, and then at the time, my mom was still living in China, and while I was going to high school in Oregon, and she was like, "Well, by the time the U.S. got COVID, China was like pretty much open. Like you do whatever you want, no mask, everything was fine." So I went back home to Shanghai, and I met up with like a bunch of my friends, childhood friends, and I have this one really really good friend. His name's Matt. He's like a musical prodigy. Like this kid is like, it's unbelievable. So we collaborated. We wrote a musical together. So like that was like a produce, direct, write, all that. And I think that's kind of the reason I think why I'm sitting in this chair here. But like it was a small show. It was a lot of fun. Like I think it really like reinforced. I was like, oh, I genuinely really like doing this. It's like it's not just like a school club or like an extracurricular activity. That was like I want to do this for real. Like,
absolutely.
For the rest of my life. So,
is there any way to find the music?
it's on you. I don't know if I have the recording of the show. I can send that to you.
Please, that'd be great.
Yeah. But I have like I guess like my first like way of touching film was that I had a friend who did a lot of YouTube videos. I did a lot of videos with him when we were in middle school, and that was like a way for me to be like, oh, we're doing this show, but the thing about theater is like, only the people in the audience are really going to have experienced that show. So I was like, what can I do to make sure that this lasts forever for us? So I had like him and a few other kids like that really were interested in film follow us around from like writing all the way to like end of the show. So then I just like put together like a little documentary. It's like not little, it's like 40 minutes long. But
okay, you just dropped it. Okay.
But that was like a it was like. Because during COVID, like I didn't have to do school. Like I really genuinely had so much time, and I was like, "This is the perfect opportunity to do whatever I want." You know, I don't have homework. Like, I have so much time. Like, I have to take advantage of it.
Okay,
so
you did what I did too. I love that. That's awesome. Wait, so you made a documentary in addition to the musical?
Yeah. So like, musical was sophomore year, and the documentary was like first half of my junior year. I was just like, all the weekends, like it was just kind of like, "Hey guys, COVID is still kind of around, so like I'm not gonna go outside. Instead, I lock myself in my room and just edit.
That's pretty cool, man.
But yeah,
that's pretty awesome. Wow. What was your first project at USC?
My first project was actually like, if it wasn't The People We Missed, then it was I wrote and directed, but that was because I did it through APCA, the Asian Cinema Association.
Yeah.
Because they have a PA program where like it's all beginner filmmakers.
Absolutely.
So that was perfect for me because it was kind of daunting, I guess. Like in terms of like my major, we only took one production class spring semester freshman year. I was like, I don't want to wait that long to get my first taste of production. But at the same time, signing up for these sets, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I don't know what's going on. So that was a really good way. Like I think we really bonded as a team. And that was a good way for me to like learn the logistics of everything. Guest speakers come in, a lot of practice, and then on set was just like, it was just a lot of fun, man. Like I think learning everything for the first time, like when I realized like, oh, like how much coverage you have to get, like how do you work with actors now that there's a camera in front of them, all that. So I had a lot of fun there, and that just kind of took off from there.
Do you prefer theater or do you prefer screen acting?
I think that's tough, man. I will say, I don't quite miss the long like rehearsal, like the weeks, the months before the show. You know, like
I haven't really experienced that. So like I have never.
Yeah, dude, it's like I was telling my roommates this actually the other day because they asked me this question because like I think my roommate saw like a video of like Denzel saying like, oh, like theater's the actor's medium, film is like filmmaker's medium. So like I think right now I actually almost prefer screen acting, but the reason for that is because I feel like it just takes me to like a different place, and I don't know if this is like there's like an error in my process or like something about it, but it's like there's so much more like there's so many more intimate moments I feel like with like the camera right there, like especially with the film that we just worked on.
Yeah.
Like it was right up in my face and I was like, I have to think about every single thing that I'm feeling versus theater was kind of like a how do I make this grand and how do I show the audience that's sitting in the very like the grandma in the back that like can barely see, can barely hear, like how do I make sure she sees that as well?
Yeah.
So I think it's just a lot of fun both sides, but maybe it's also because like it's so new to me still, film acting. So but right now I'm really gravitating towards screen acting.
Right now, I mean, I guess considering that the only basis that I have is screen acting, I think that's the only reason why I prefer or I want to do theater more is because I don't have a foundation in that or I haven't done it.
Yeah.
So I haven't experienced that. And so I feel like it probably will be a rough transition period if I were to do it or play because I'm like, oh, I don't need to worry about the camera being there, but I do have to worry about the audience, you know, need to see every single movement or everything. And of course, if you make a mistake, obviously, well, the audience won't know that you made a mistake unless it's very obvious you made a mistake.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, screen acting, I mean, you were brilliant in the film that we did. That was extremely, there's a couple of scenes where it's extremely emotional. That I thought that you killed it, of course.
Thank you, man.
I'm every time I talk to you, like I'm really proud of that film. Like you and the both of you were just, yeah, I like that film a lot. I'm really excited to release it. I'm really excited. Jason, the director, had a vision, executed it, and he's working on another thing, or he's pretty much conjuring up another one already.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He doesn't stop.
It's like more action oriented, and so he's already been. That's
awesome.
But yeah, man. I mean, what projects? How many projects would you say you've done so far?
Like just acting or like just in general?
Just acting.
Just acting. It definitely doesn't go above like my two hands on my fingers. Like, let me think.
That's crazy because I feel like you're so experienced already.
Thank you.
That's crazy.
Thank you. No, I think like a big. Dude, I'm trying to think, man. Like, I've done a few like extra roles, but lead roles. I did the Moons that you obviously edited, Jason's film, and then last semester I just did someone's 310 project, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, it's not a lot, but I will say that like I feel like a big thing for me now is like a lot of the roles I've gotten so far have been like the characters have been pretty much like only about like being Asian. I think that's like the main plot point. So I think like now especially though with the auditions that I've been getting and I'm trying to work on, it's like it's not really like the main point of the movie. You know? Yeah,
absolutely.
So I think that's really exciting for me now. It's kind of like I can kind of break out of like just like all the films have to be about like being Asian American or being Asian. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
You gotta talk to me about the process for. I'm going to look up the name of the film. It's the Moon, or no, it's not the Moon.
Oh yeah, the Moons eat turkey with 7 swords.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Explain to me how that happened, or the audition process for that, and then I want to know how it was filming that, because editing that was really fun, but also really stressful.
Dude,
because it was edited like, the bear or something like that. So first of all, how was the audition process?
It's actually really funny you said it though, because I don't know if you saw the clips, but like there were some takes I was like, wow, the editor's gonna have to go through hell with this one. But the audition process was really smooth, man. I just saw it because like again, like I think so many of my opportunities come from being in the Asian Pacific Cinema Association here. Like they genuinely have such a wide network that like there's always something going on, so it's so much fun. I think Calix, the director and the writer, any producer, I think. He's so talented. Yeah, he's unbelievable. He dropped it in like the ABCA Slack channel, and he was like, "Hey, I need a lead actor for this role." Reached out. I just did a Zoom audition. I didn't even meet him in person. Honestly, like I did a Zoom audition. I think I did I don't remember if I think I did a callback too.
Yeah.
But it was super smooth. Like he had me. A lot of it was ad-libbing. I remember.
I figured. Okay.
He gave me like 3 actual lines and then was like, because a big point in that is like the conflict that I have with my mom
Yeah.
in that, and that she's hiding a big secret from me. So a lot of it, he was just like, pretend I'm your mom. I said, he gave me a few lines to say, here's what we do, and that was like maybe like 30 seconds of acting, and he was like, keep going. Like, how do you get me to reveal the secret to you, and how do you like really get that out of me?
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. It pushed me like like during the audition, but also like on set. Like I was very.
I feel like you guys did a lot of improv.
We did, yeah. It was a ton. Like I remember he was like, I don't remember how many hours we shot, but like let's say it was 8 hours.
Yeah.
We would do like 5 hours of what's in the script, and then he would dedicate 3 hours. He was just like, just riff, just go.
Wow.
And that was a lot of fun with all the actors. Like they were also talented. And like I honestly like I would describe like this is not meant to be taken the wrong way. Like I was very like uncomfortable on set, but not as in like not that way. But it was like
as an actor.
Yeah, like I had never gone that far for a role.
Yes.
So that was a lot of fun for me, and it was really cool to see like how a lot of the other actors work. A lot of them were, I mean, it was my family. Like a lot of them were so much older than me, so much more experienced, and so to see like how they work through things was a ton of fun, and I learned a lot from them. And I think that just like is shown in films like the one that we just did, where it's like I have to kind of go to some places like that, but it's like I kind of know how to get there now.
Yes.
Versus the moves, I remember like before the ending scene, it took me like I think like before like it took me like 40 minutes before we got the first shot. It was like a really long time. I remember like Calix's mom was there because she had brought us like the crafty, and she was like, "Oh, like are you okay? Like you step out." I was like, "No, like I'm gonna do it. And it's just like it took so long to get there, but I was really proud of what ended up happening. I'm really proud of that.
You should be proud. That film, I think it was 15-20 minutes or so. But
yeah, it was a longer one for sure.
Editing it was definitely an experience. That was to edit it like the bear was kind of terrifying. But yeah, because sorting through the footage, there was like, well, I think that's probably one of the first films that I was editing. Like I had to edit, and so that film felt like was very much a challenge. With editing it, and there was just a lot of scenes that felt like it was extremely useful or felt necessary to the plot, and so I just didn't know what to scrub. I didn't know what to get rid of.
Right.
Because all the scenes you guys were kind of just playing off each other.
Yeah.
And the dynamic was very genuine, and so there's a lot of scenes where I'm like, this is good, but I don't know where this is gonna fit in the plot.
Right.
There's a lot of scenes, I forgot the names, but the boyfriend just the uncle as well.
Teddy?
Yes, and the uncle, maybe the uncle, the brother.
Yeah. Teddy and Uncle Gordon. Yeah.
Uncle Gordon was one of my favorite characters. And there's a lot of scenes towards the back half where I was just like, they're definitely doing improv, but it feels so natural.
Yeah.
Very comedic. And I feel like that was probably, if I was in that set, I feel like I'd crash out all the time because I'm still learning improv, and so the fact that y'all are ad-libbing so much, or it feels like y'all are just playing off of each other, I'd be terrified. I'd be like, I don't know how to go on.
Dude, I remember like, this is so like, I don't even think she remembers this, but Kat, the actress who played my mom in that, there's a scene like building up to the climax of the film where we have a pretty big argument in the kitchen, and it's kind of like where I confront her about hiding these secrets from me. Or no, it's like I'm preparing to do it.
Yeah.
We had lunch, and then we had a break before we started shooting that. So she goes, "Oh, Andrew, can I talk to you outside?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So we step outside, and her like no smile, dead face, looks me dead in the eye, and was like, what the fuck have you done? And I was still like,
whoa.
Like I was like what did I do, right? Like, I was like, oh, like I don't know, like what are you talking about? And then she doesn't break, she doesn't do it, like she just straight like just starts grilling me, and I was like, at first I was like, whoa, Kat, like what's going on? But then I realized I was like, oh, like this is her way of immersing. Like she's no longer Kat. Like we finished lunch, friendly talk, like it's all done. Like she just straight face just looked at me and like we just started going. And so I think Calix was shooting someone else's scene, and so we had a while. We were out there for a really long time, and so by the time Calix was like, "Oh, like we're done shooting this scene, we're ready for you guys," we walked in like it was right there. It was right there. So That was like that. I think that was the moment I was like, damn, like I'm uncomfortable on this set. Like this is, I've never done anything like this. But she, I think, like was a huge help, and like, and afterwards she was like, oh, like sorry if you were confused. But I was like, no, like that was exactly what I needed to get there because I was so nervous about that scene. That was the scene I was like, oh, I don't want to shoot. I'm so scared.
The emotional intensity that you both y'all both reached that peak during that scene, and I was during the editing. Man, I was a little intimidated. I was like, this feels like a very violent, dysfunctional family. And I was like, I don't want to watch this. I was like, this is really painful, actually.
Yeah.
That was, for that to be like my first film. I think besides the people we missed, the people we missed, it was just your audio recording. Yeah, it was just audio.
Yeah, I wasn't.
That was just audio recording for you. So this was like my first time, I think, seeing you like perform or act. I was like, damn.
Thanks, bro.
That's why when you told me like you can count your fingers films you're in, I'm like, I don't believe that. I don't believe you, man. I think you're lying. But I mean, it's just you're just talented, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
So what projects do you have lined up?
Right, sure, yeah. Acting wise, I'm waiting to hear back on like a few things. So acting wise, nothing is really lined up quite yet. But so my roommate Antonio, he and I have been working really closely. He is like the ultimate cinephile. Like this dude knows every single movie ever created. It's unbelievable. And I like. He's a business student, so he's not studying anything close to film, but he has such a huge passion for it, and he honestly has taught me more about film than like anyone has. So
that's pretty cool.
The two of us have partnered, and we've got another project slated like to shoot probably after spring break, so like late March, early April. That I'm really excited for. I'm writing that with our other roommate, Jefferson. It's really a lot of fun, and then we're in post on a short like 4-minute horror comedy that he and I wrote and directed together in October.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you, man. I've low-key been like putting off the edit for a little bit. This semester's been a little busy, but I'm really excited for that to come out. Those are the primary focuses. Outside of like short films, like there's a few other shoots, ads, music videos, like that type of stuff. But
so it sounds like you're creating a bit more.
Yeah. I think like I want to put myself in the position where like I told you like for example, I told you like a lot of the auditions I was getting when I first got to USC were it was because like the pool of Asian male actors, like it's just there's not a lot of them. So a lot of that roles I was getting, like the characters basically they have to be Asian, right? It's not, there's never like any ethnicity and then I get cast for it. So I want to put myself in a position where it's like I don't have to always wait for other people, you know, like I'm very, very grateful for everyone that's like giving me opportunity to audition or to be in the film, anything like that. But it's like
it's a great mindset.
Like there are times where I'm just like, you know, like I've always wanted to play this character, like why don't I just put myself in it, you know?
Yeah.
So that it's a lot of fun, and I think it's also just really fun for me to work with other creatives, other actors especially, like when I'm not in scene with them, I learn a lot from them.
Yes.
Whether it be like directing or like if I'm just like a PA on set, I just watch how they work. So
It sounds like you're writing and directing more, and so is directing something would you say that's kind of your goal behind acting?
Yeah, I would say like in my like dream, like everything that I want to come true happens is I want to first act, but after acting it's kind of like where I go from there, and so I think that's when I want to branch out into directing. But I don't want to just like obviously like I want to direct a feature, like I want to act in a feature, but I think like in terms of directing, like, I really like creating in the other mediums. Like I think maybe I caught like a little bit of like that marketing advertising bug from my mom. Doing a lot of like ads, I really like those. Music videos, like those types of like different forms of media, and I think like doing that also like kind of motivates me to do more in the filmscape. So just exploring.
How long have you been writing?
I'm gonna be honest, like I don't actually consider writing like my strong suit.
No.
I wrote the ABCA one because that was like it was just like if you want to direct, you got it right. So I was like,
Absolutely.
yeah, all right. But outside of that, honestly, like I really like I kind of like directing other people's scripts, man. Like I like writing. It's a bit of like a weaker thing for me. And I think that's why I really want to push myself though. When I collaborate with other people, it's like, why not just put two brains together and let's write together. And I think, especially because my roommate Jefferson that I'm writing this new script with, he's kind of taking the lead, and he really likes screenwriting. And so I'm just learning so much from him, like in terms of before we even touched the computer, before we even touched the screenplay, he was like, all right, we're gonna make a map, we're gonna do the characters, then we're gonna talk about the sequence of events, how do they connect, here are the emotions, like all of that, and just watching him basically set the stage for me to just blurt things out, and he could take them and organize them for me and also add his own thoughts. That was really, really insightful, and I think it changed the way I looked at, like, I was like, oh, when I wrote that thing for ABCA, like I just opened the doc and I just went. And I had never really considered like here are the other moving parts of it. So yeah, I mean I think it's right now still a weaker like a weakness of mine, but I do want to like push myself, make myself uncomfortable, like I said in the situation with the moon. It's like I think ultimately it's just gonna benefit me. So I really want to push myself.
Absolutely. As an actor, do you feel like, well, first of all, as an actor, how would you say you've been, this is probably a really dumb question, how would you say you've been taught to act?
Oh, I don't think that's a dumb question at all. I think like, what's interesting is that like, I feel like when you're in school, like for the school play, like it's always the drama teacher directing, right? So I was like kind of nervous. I was like, dude, like I don't know if I could work with other directors because I've been so used to like middle school. We had to switch teachers like a few times. So like I've had a few teachers that have been like really, really motivating me. But I guess like the first moment I was really like, I guess like quote unquote taught to act was, it was middle school. There was like, I think it was like 7th grade music or something. I was in like the 3rd round of callbacks. I was so convinced I was getting this lead. I didn't get it. Yeah. And that I was like, dude, like what did I do? Like, like I went like there's so many, like there's like 3 of us left, and I was like, bro, like, come on now. But there was a teacher, I'll never forget her, Miss Taylor, who like she was involved because she just like helped with like the logistics of how the show went. Yeah. She wasn't really like hands-on in terms of like directing and all that, but she was like, you know what? Let's look at how you auditioned, and she really like helped me hone in on like, okay, well, one thing we notice about you is like when you speak, you're very, you're communicating a lot of the emotions of the character, but when you sing, you freeze up. And she was like, it's because you're too focused on hitting the notes and you just forgot that you're a character. You're only focused on singing in character, you're not focused on communicating that. And so she was like, I think the biggest thing I had to learn was that like I always had to say in character, like it's not just about when you're speaking, how do you listen to other people? Things like that. That's like, you wouldn't really consider that because like in a movie, I'm talking right now, so the camera's on me, but then when you talk, it's on you. Like, so you're like, oh, I can, right? Like I can just do whatever I want. I don't have to do anything. But I think that was a big shift in terms of that, where she was like, you're creating the world, so like the world has to stay. Yes. You can't just say like, oh, I have one line, so I'm only gonna maintain the world for that one line. Yeah. That was a big lesson for me. Other than that, it was just watching other people operate. I was given a lot of freedom, I think, like for my first roles where I was genuinely like playing like a bigger character. I was given a lot of freedom in terms of like, they were kind of like, let's see your interpretation first and I'll tweak it from there. And that's kind of the approach I'm taking when directing other actors as well. But I think that's given me a lot of freedom in like, what does Andrew bring to the table in terms of this character? And it's not like solely just about that.
How would you say, so do you feel like you enjoy directing actors?
I think so. And I think the reason for that is because like, I kind of like feel like I know where they're coming from a little more. Like I feel like when I've worked with directors who have like verbally told me like, oh, I've never acted before, like I just like directing, it just feels a little different, man. Like I don't know. I think there's like a certain beauty in like I know you guys are like trying your best to communicate this, and it's like kind of like, like I understand what you're going through right now, how the performance is going. So it's a lot of fun for me. I also find that I think the actors I direct are far more talented than me, and so I'm just like watching how they operate, and like watching like even how they even like how they conduct themselves, like when they walk on a set, you know,
Yeah.
and they have that script in their hand, and I'm like, oh, like we're not ready quite yet, like take 20 minutes and just do your thing, and I just, you know, I'll just like peek over and just look at what they're doing, and just watching that process has been really beneficial to me as well. So.
Wait, so you also sing?
Okay. I'll tell you. I'll say this. This is my first thing. I was never formally trained to sing.
Okay.
It was just because when you do school plays,
You just there's gonna be
or
some
musicals, you know, like you gotta
It's
sing.
inevitable.
So I just mimic the sound. That's why I know the piano. I was never formally trained to sing. I just kind of did it honestly. Like if you watch the recordings of my high school shows, it's quite evident that me and then the other leads, it's like, oh, like this is the one that isn't in the choir. This is the one that's not formally trained to sing. But it was like, I mean, I think like doing musical, whether you think you can sing or not, doing a musical is like so beneficial for an actor. I think it's like it's just like a completely different world, man. Like, and shifting from like that like fantastic, like it's such like a fantasy, right? That like these characters will just stop what they're doing, just start singing for no reason, you know, like it's just so much fun. I think it like really brings the community together, and that has like completely changed the way like I approach now when I approach like these film sets. It's like I know that I have to maintain this world for the audience, and so like when the camera cuts, like I'm not trying to just like be like, all right, I clocked out, you know, like I'm done. I really want to like be sure that I'm maintaining the integrity of like whatever we're working on until like we're like done.
Yeah, musical theater is something that I'm honestly really mad that it is one of my biggest regrets that with theater I didn't take it seriously, or I didn't even kind of consider it in high school.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where you kind of just scoffed at, and I did ROTC instead, and so I kind of wish.
You had that in high school?
Yeah.
Oh.
AFJ ROTC, yeah. And so that was like you can do PE or ROTC.
Okay.
And so I wish I had done theater, but during high school, I wanted to originally do architecture or computer science. So it was a completely different field. But then COVID happened, and I realized I wanted to do art. I wanted to create. It was more like film and TV, but then acting kind of revealed itself as the first thing.
Yeah.
And so it's only been like until senior year, junior year that I've really been able to start. My interest has kind of peaked in terms of musical theater, and so now I'm kind of obsessed with anything musically or theater. So like Song Diamond and watching West Side Story and watching like Sweeney Todd, and I need to watch Waitress. But I saw Hades and
oh yeah, I love Hadestown. Yeah, love it.
Hadestown was. There's been a lot of eye-opening moments, and I feel like I'm behind. But it's inevitable. And of course, everyone who has an STA major or something, I'm like, man, I wish I could have been grouped in with y'all, but I just was nowhere near had that portfolio or any of that, you know, so I wouldn't have been capable. But no, musical theater has been really eye-opening to see how much I love that and how much that world has opened up, and it's just like, oh my gosh, this may be the best thing ever.
For sure, man.
And so I wanted to do theater for sure, but are you gonna apply for any shows or something? Or audition?
I actually like. I had this conversation with my roommates too, because I was like, I don't remember how this came up. I think someone found a clip of me on stage on YouTube or something like that. Someone had found it, and it was just kind of like look, like this is Andrew in high school, like it was like fun thing. And then someone asked me, it was like, oh, like how come you don't do theater anymore? And I was like, being completely honest with you, this business of cinematic arts degree is low-key no joke. Like it's a lot of work. So I was just like, I don't know if I can
get the time,
dedicate that time. You know, like the film sets, it's like, I actually like, usually I don't have rehearsals, which is interesting.
Usually like you do your own thing.
Yeah.
You have a table read, but
exactly.
Otherwise you'll meet up in a week or two.
Yeah, like so I know how many hours I have to dedicate to it. Like I know like this weekend I'm gonna block out no matter what. But besides that, it's like, oh, like how much can I commit over the weekdays? You know, like, doing all these other clubs. It's like, I don't know if I can fully commit to the station.
Yeah.
But I do really miss it. And I think like what you were saying about high school, I think you bring up a good point. Is like in my high school, at least like, I was one of the only guys in the theater department.
Yeah.
Like
That's a great
consistently, like there were probably like 4 or 5.
Yeah. It
Um,
was a lot.
so I was like, I mean, my mom was telling me, she was like, it's kind of a blessing because like you come in not formally trained singer,
Yeah.
not a lot of like formally trained acting experience compared to like a lot of the girls, to be honest, right? And she was like, but you're able to get these really big parts because there's just really no other option. So it was, I guess it benefited me, but one thing like I think that's kind of like sad about it is like a lot of people do look down on theater in high school. And it's like it's almost socially unacceptable amongst the majority to be a guy in theater. It's a really like interesting thing. And so I remember like I cared about our department so much. Like I really liked it. So like eventually I took over as like president of the thespian troupe, and that was like and I remember like people would tell me, they're like, why? You know, like why would you do that? And it was like a kind of frowned upon thing. Like when I played basketball freshman year, people were like, oh, you were in the musical. What are you doing on the team now? So it was just like I think like my school was like relatively a little bit more accepting, but it was still like very much like like that's a theater kid, and there's like a certain stigma around like this is why we don't do it. And I felt bad, man. I felt like a lot of my friends who watched my shows were like, oh, I wish I could do that. I'm like, just sign up. Like just sign up, you'll get like you could do it. But it was just like the fear of like, oh, like how are people gonna look at me once I get off the stage, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's like very interesting because I'm like, y'all idolize some of these actors, but like they come from the stage too. Like I don't know. So yeah, that's a big thing that I think like I really like talking about. Is like how come it's such a strange thing for a guy to be
to be very passionate about it too.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wish I remember seeing I didn't see any shows during high school too. Like I didn't go to anything, and so I just really wish it was the inverse of that. I wish I had recognized that passion far sooner. Because if I could have put myself in a position to have done acting classes in high school, so that I could have started right out the gate at USC, that would be great. Because a lot of the people I know are like child actors or like people that started years ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, now that I'm starting now, I'm like, it feels like I'm a bit way too behind right now, which is a fascinating feeling. But man,
I think like no matter what though, there's always like this feeling of like behind. Like I was thinking like growing up, I didn't watch a lot of movies.
Yeah.
And this is like always a joke. It's like when someone asks like, oh, like have you guys seen this movie? Like everyone would be like in my dorm or like my friend group would be like, yes, and they'll point at me. I'll be like, oh, I haven't seen that one. It's like, oh, like you're the film student in the dorm. Like how come you haven't seen that? So I'm like, I'm building my way up there, but it's like
it's okay.
I was like, yeah, like I didn't really grow up like watching a lot of movies, and so I feel like there's like always this. And I was thinking like my little sisters, there's just more movies for them to catch up on, you know? Like we're still talking about the same thing. And so, yeah, I think no matter what, there's always gonna be like this feeling of like coming behind. But honestly, like no matter where the passion path is, it's what it's meant to be.
It's hilarious because I would consider myself a cinephile, but I can't even say that, I don't think, because like I haven't watched all the way like Star Wars. I haven't watched Harry Potter. I haven't watched Lord of the Rings.
I haven't seen Lord of the Rings.
The Hobbit or any of those. No. And then all the like the most popular TV shows, I really haven't touched TV. Like TV.
TV, but I will say like TV is sometimes like a bit daunting. Like
it's a bit terrifying to commit to as a student.
Yeah, I think like the number one show everyone's always like, wow, like you gotta watch it. Is Breaking Bad. Like I haven't seen Breaking Bad.
I haven't seen Breaking Bad.
But I'm not gonna lie, like how many, like there's like 8 seasons something like that?
Yeah, it's like 8 or 9.
Like
that's terrifying.
I'm scared of that, bro. Like I don't know. Like
other shows like The Office, or I imagine they have like 20 plus episodes each season. I'm like,
yeah.
No.
I mean, one of my hot takes is like I watched The Office. I watched like the first season and I was just kind of like, it was cool. I don't know. Like I think maybe it just wasn't like for me. Yeah, there's a lot, like the clips are really funny.
Yeah.
But then people were like, oh, but it's because you didn't get far enough. Like you gotta keep going. I'm like,
but do I really want to? Do I want
so much
to?
time, you know? Like I don't know. I'm gonna get flamed in your comment section.
It's okay. No, because there's a lot of shows where it's like, yeah, you gotta wait until like 3rd and 4th season. It's okay. You know, it's fine. this what shows on? Like Breaking Bad, Sopranos. I really gotta watch Severance right now, which I will.
Oh, Severance is great. Yeah.
What else? Just the Better Call Saul. I need to really watch that. Game of Thrones. I haven't seen any of that.
Oh yeah. Like I'm right with you on that. Like I don't know. It's I haven't seen a lot of these shows.
It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah.
What is the business of cinematic arts major entail?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think that the number one thing I was telling people is it's a cohort. So we have, I think we're like I think like 45 now.
Okay.
It might be lower. But, so I think that's the biggest thing I always tell people is like very tight knit group. And business and cinematic arts, it just really like, they emphasize like the blend of like the creative but also the logistic like business side of things. And a big thing for like people ask me like, oh, why did you pick this degree? Was I was like, I don't want to be a creative who doesn't know how to sell the work, right? Like if I really want to do this, I want to be able to feed myself, you know, raise a family with like the work that I'm doing. And so a big part of that was like, you know, creating the work. I feel like there's only so much you can teach someone.
Yeah.
But thinking about like creating it for an audience who's going to pay money to see it, like that's a whole different field. So that was a big reason why I picked it. You know, we have a lot of people who want to be producers, be like those development execs in the studios. Quite a few like entertainment lawyers as well. I think it's a wide variety of people who want to do various things in the entertainment industry that like I before coming here didn't even know was a job, right?
Yeah.
Like you only watch the movie and you're like, okay, well there's a director, there's a writer,
There's
actors, editor, like that's it, right?
Yeah.
Everyone else is just kind of like, oh, like they just did something.
Yeah.
But like you don't even think about like who was like the intern, I guess, that read the script and wrote the coverage and was like, this is a good movie, or something like that. Like there are so many jobs I think I didn't even realize existed. So this program has been really eye-opening in terms of that. Like even forcing me to do this internship this semester, like they were like, you gotta get an internship this semester. Really opened my eyes on like how does a production company work and all that. So
that's cool. What would you want to do primarily with production outside of like directing?
Like a production like on set?
Yeah, on set or just being associated with the film.
On set, I actually don't know, man. Like I think a big thing that I've realized at USC is that like I've pretty much always applied to be a director on someone's project, and I think the reason for that is because like I don't have a lot of technical experience, right? Like I don't really know how to gaff, like I don't really know how to operate all the sound stuff. So that's been like really helpful in terms of like networking people and like understanding like, oh, like how do you do these jobs? So honestly, I haven't really explored a lot of the other jobs.
Yeah.
Like I'm officially producing my first project this semester, which is a music video. Thank you.
That's cool.
So like I'm trying to like branch out now. It's kind of like, okay, like I've had a little bit too much fun with directing. Like let's like try and do some other things for other people. Let's gain some more experience in that sense. But I think like if let's say like this whole production thing doesn't work out at all, I don't book any casts. I can't get cast in anything. I can't direct anything. I've really recently been like exploring like doing like development as a career. I'm doing development right now in my internship, and it's just hearing like, you know, like these are the people in the offices that are receiving the material from these creatives. They're reading it and they're writing coverage on it. They're deciding like in these meetings on like, is this good for our brand? Is it financially feasible? Like, is there a market for this? And so I think that is a job that's like if I can't create my own stuff, like why not be in the office that gets to give these creatives the opportunity to have that big break, you know? Yeah. I think that's a lot of fun for me as well. Like it's like if I work for a company, like how do I build the brand? Like right now, like the company they have a niche. It's a horror niche. And they've done a really good job of like curating that. So it's like I feel like I'm like contributing to that, like, you know, like building that brand. So I think that's a lot of fun for me. I think that would do that.
Man. Wait, so what task or what do they have you do for the company, for the internship?
Yeah, I mean it's primarily coverage. One thing I really like about this company, so the company's Crooked Highway. It's very, very small still. So they primarily it's coverage. There's also a lot of like I do a lot of like database work.
Yeah.
So it's like they have a slate of projects. So it's Scott Derrickson and Robert Cargill's company. They have like
I've heard that name before.
Scott Derrickson. He did Sinister, Doctor Strange, Black Phone.
That makes sense.
Um,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so they've curated this brand around it. So a lot of it is like they have a slate of upcoming products, right? And so
And you did the gorge as well.
yeah, that's the one that just came out on
That's
Valentine's Day. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, there's like things like like writer director lists.
Yeah.
When we pitch companies,
Okay.
like we have to have a slate of like who would be fit for this, things like that.
Production. It's really been. I mean, it's a fascinating process just because I think sophomore year or junior year, I remember the spring semester. That first like 2 or 3 months, I was like, I'm going to do a different role like every single weekend. And so like the first weekend of January, I think I did like Baby Boom. Or the next week I did grip. The next week I did lighting. The next one I did assistant camera and stuff. And then I think February was acting, and then March was editing. And that was when I was editing like People We Miss, your movie as well, and then a couple of other ones for like TFC and some other ones. And so really figuring out what do I enjoy. And from that process, it was like I'm realizing that I don't enjoy a lot of stuff, which is okay.
But I think that's the direction you need, right?
Yeah,
So
you gotta find
I'm in the right path. Like I know
Yes.
what I like.
Yeah, and realizing that the camera and videography is very much my passion outside of acting. Like that's DPing and being able to figure out shot lists and be responsible for how a film directly looks like, that's the best film. And so that was really cool to learn that. And of course getting to, like you said, meeting people and knowing certain people who are right for that, or who are, like I know people who can do sound, or I know people who are for grips. And knowing I'm probably not gonna do that. No, I'm not capable of doing that. But yeah, it's definitely been cool to have that process of learning and meeting with people and having those connections. Do you feel like over the next semester, I know you said you was gonna do, or not this next semester, but I guess maybe the next year or so, of wanting to do on-set stuff or wanting to do different roles that you haven't usually done, just for the sake of trying it out and attempting it?
Yeah, I think so. I think like one thing I realized is like I think like directing's been a lot of fun for me. It's also taken a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like I told you, like I haven't really acted in a lot of things. So I actually want to this semester I'm trying to dedicate more to acting. And then I think, but what you just said, like that strategy of like, you know what, let's actually commit myself to saying like I will grip one time and I will be an assistant camera one time. I think that's a really good approach to it. So I think I will try that. Like especially when like I mean in the fall there's a ton of stuff happening. Everyone's hungry after summer. So
Always.
I think that's definitely a cool approach that I think we'll try.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, who do you feel like has been most critical for you for your acting journey?
There's a few people actually. I obviously the first one I'm gonna say is my parents. Like especially my mom, who like she'll watch everything I do. She didn't live in Oregon with me. She lived in Asia. But she would fly to watch my show.
That's
so like it meant the world to me, and like if she couldn't make it, she would watch the recording, and she's honest with me, right? I think that's the biggest thing. Was like
that's what you need.
She's not like, oh my god, you did amazing, like it was perfect. She always says, this was good, and then she was like, next one, let's do this. So like when she watched Moons, she was like, I've never seen you get to this point. Like that was great, right? And then she was like, but I think maybe like the rage part, maybe you did like a little bit too much. So maybe like on your next one, let's try a different approach to it. And that's the approach I took with Helpless. I was like, oh, okay, like she told me like last time I was like a bit like I was trying to look sad versus feel sad. So she was like, whoa, why don't you try that? And so I was like, and that's I think that's what inspired like Helpless. And so she's definitely like one of my like biggest supporters, but also like the person that's honestly like, she's basically my coach at this point. Like she'll watch what I do. Besides that, I mean, like I've had a lot of teachers that have taught me a lot. Especially, like, I just told you about Miss Taylor. middle school who gave me those notes. Yeah, man. Outside of that, I mean, like some friends, some like lifelong friends I made in the theater department.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, you know, like we're all in it together. Yeah, dude, like there's just so much, man. There's so many people that I feel like I was, you know how like when you like dream you want something, like if you win an Oscar, like people have thought about like what they would say, right?
Yeah.
I'm low-key like if I won like right now, I don't know like how many people to thank. I don't know.
Everybody. Yeah.
Right? Like there's just
It's too
so
much.
many people. It's just like I don't know what I would say.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah, man.
I feel like there's like people I've met one time or had one interaction with that just like instrumental.
Yeah, I will say, like probably like he's probably the reason why I have the confidence to tell you here like I'm gonna act like for real, like I'm gonna act as a career, like this is gonna be my life. Was the theater teacher I had, his name's Bob. I had him freshman and sophomore year. He was supposed to retire my senior year, but then because of COVID, kind of selfish, he just retired a little earlier.
Yeah.
But freshman year, when I moved to Oregon, there was like the biggest culture shock ever. Like I thought because in Shanghai I went to an international school, I was like, I know how America works. Like I know the culture of that. I showed up, I didn't know anything people were talking about. Like I didn't know the pop culture references. I didn't know I didn't know a lot of the slang. Like I didn't know a lot of these things, and so it was honestly like quite lonely at first, and I think that's like what I feel like a lot of college students face, right?
Yes.
And it was kind of like because I got through the thick of it in high school, I didn't really feel it when I got here.
Yeah.
But the only thing I knew I could do for sure was I was gonna play basketball and I was going to act.
Yeah.
And so what happened first was fall. We had the musical. We did Chicago, and I auditioned, and I was shaking. Like I remember I went last in the audition. Like I watched probably like
How long did you wait for?
70 people go.
Oh no.
Like I was there. Like school got out at 3:30. We started at 4. I auditioned at like 7 p.m.
No.
Like I was there for forever because I was just so scared.
My nerves would be afraid.
I was just like, oh, like I got up there and I was like, hi, my name. Like I was so scared. But like, you know, I did the song. I did the monologue. I did all that. I genuinely, I was like, oh, I sold it. Like that was horrible. That was probably my worst performance. But I think I don't know what he saw in me. He gave me Billy Flynn. Like
That's wonderful.
it was unbelievable. I was like, I don't know anyone here. Like all these are
That's cool.
seniors. Like I don't know what to do here. And he was just like, he was the one that told me. He was like, I think you're focused a little like midway through the rehearsal process. He was like, I think you're too focused on thinking about like exactly how to pretend to be Billy Flynn, and you're not thinking about like why I would have cast you as that character.
Yeah.
Obviously it's about playing the character, but he was like, there's a reason why I picked you to play it, so what do you bring to the table?
Right.
Whether that be like physically like how you look, whether that be like how you pronounce some words, you know, like things like that. It's like, I think a big part of it is like, you know, you can obviously lose yourself in a character, you can obviously like, I think it's really important to get a character, but like, why are you the one playing it?
Yeah.
Like, why are you like the physical embodiment of this person who just basically is on a page?
Yeah.
And I think that was like a really important thing for me is like, I feel like every time now I get cast, I feel like I'm genuinely supposed to be there, you know?
Yes.
And I don't take that like lightly when someone has written a script, and a lot of times you don't like it's a huge effort for them, right? Like they put so much into it, and someone has said like, oh, I want you to play that character. Like, I feel like that's a lot of weight. It's like, okay, what do I physically bring to the table that
Yeah.
like I can contribute to this character?
Yeah. Man. Do you feel like you have, well, first of all, once again, your performance in Helpless was wonderful.
Thanks, man.
The scene that we did on the beach.
Mm.
Well, first of all, it was really cold. It was freezing.
It's freezing.
It was freezing. It was extremely windy as
Yeah.
well. So the fact that, you know, that you crushed it, but also was just so emotionally vulnerable in that moment, it showed on camera.
Thank
And it looks fantastic too.
I'm so excited to see it. I'm so excited.
Your performance, and that's cool to know that your mother gave you, because now that you've said that, I'm like, I can recognize the growth from the first film I saw you in to Helpless for sure.
Awesome.
Much more well-rounded, as you were already well-rounded, but in Helpless, definitely I saw that there's a couple of scenes where I was just like, no notes. Like I'm pretty sure I don't know if Jason had notes for you either. It was just like, yeah, you got it. Like,
thank you, man.
Made it easy, and that's really cool to see your growth. And obviously, you're gonna get even better in the future. But I'm curious for auditions. Do you feel like you get a lot of anxiety, or well that, but also when you step on a set, do you feel like the anxieties?
I mean, like, completely honest. Like, I think people are lying when they say they don't get nervous for auditions. Like,
too.
But I think it's like, how controllable is it, right? Like, for auditions, I like the feeling of nervousness because I'm like, that means I actually really want it and I really care.
Yeah.
I think probably still like the nerves are still more there for the audition itself. But I also think it depends on like what character I'm playing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it was about. Like maybe it was because Jason had taken us out to dinner before we shot. Like I knew who he was.
It's
like,
really cool because I haven't heard of that before.
I really appreciated it, and it wasn't like, okay, well, let's talk about the film. Like I think me and Penny both brought the script or something like that, and we were ready to be like, okay, let's talk about like what we should do. And I had like a pencil ready. I was like, okay, I'm ready to write. And he was like, no, we're not gonna talk about that. Like I just want to get to know you guys. Like let's just talk and hang out. And that really helped a lot. But it's like I think it depends on the character I'm playing. Like if I feel like there's sometimes like I feel like I get a little imposter syndrome. I'm like, oh, like I don't know if I was the best choice for it. Or like in my audition, I didn't feel like I did a great job with this. Like I'm kind of worried. I'm like, am I the first choice? Right? Like I don't know that.
Or it'd be like I feel like I did really good in the audition, but when I actually acted, I feel like it just was
exactly right. And it's like that's when the whole crew is there for you.
Yeah.
So it's like if you sell on like that shot, it's like
I feel like I just let the whole team down.
Yeah. But I think the nerves are good, so I don't let them affect my performance.
Yeah.
So I do my best to be like, okay, like I have to calm down obviously, but I do kind of like a little bit of the jitteriness I get. Like I think that's why like I don't know if you saw like in between takes when we were doing Helpless, like I didn't really stop moving. Like I would sit down like when I was tired, but like there were times where I would just kind of like fiddle or like I would just like jump around a little bit.
Calm. You seem calm.
Really?
Yeah,
okay, that's good. I appreciate that. But I think it's just like a never ending on like I feel like I'm here to work and I'm here to like make sure that like I'm doing my part in making the production great. So yeah, I think the nerves are good. I don't really try and fight them. I think the biggest thing is just like as long as they don't affect your performance, I think they just show you care and they're going to enhance it overall because that means you really want to do good.
Yeah.
So.
Plus, I mean, it helped that the production was I feel like it was very lighthearted. It was very easygoing, so I don't think it was a very stressful environment.
For sure.
You know. But I think it also helps having a first-time director. Considering that, like, he doesn't know what's the norm. And so that's cool of being like, I just wanted to take my actors for dinner just to interact with them. Like, that's such a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and I'm like, I think now as soon like
I think that should be
the next film I direct, I'm gonna do it because it's like I saw like the difference it made in like how we talked to each other and stuff. Like it wasn't awkward when I walked out and I had to be like,
absolutely.
Hi, my name's Andrew. What's your name? Like I don't know.
You started acting immediately.
Exactly, and it just I felt a lot more comfortable, especially like we had a few like pretty tough scenes, you know, like where we couldn't get the shot or like there were times where it was kind of like, oh, like how do we work through this? Or like I think it was one of the first shots. I was doing this certain expression and Jason was like, oh, like can we change something else? But I didn't feel like a lot of pressure. I'm like, oh shoot, like I'm not fit for this. I felt comfortable in him giving me the no, and I was like, okay, I understand where you're coming from.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Helpless was very fun. I think it was. I think also part of the reason why I was able to get to like those emotions is because Jason told us like the backstory of the film.
Yeah.
And I like my timeline for my own breakup was pretty much identical to his. So that was, but I think that we bonded over it, and it was like, okay, like I'm really playing the both of us in that movie.
Yeah,
like I'm really playing the embodiment of both of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I felt like I brought, and that was really when it's like, well, why is Andrew cast? And I was like, I think I know why I was cast in this movie now. I know why like I can do this.
Yeah.
And so I think that maybe that's why you said like, oh, with comments like this, I was like, oh, like I think I got it.
Yeah, Jason. very passionate for him, but also very devastating, of course. And then when he pitched the idea to me, I was just like, I feel yeah, I was like, do you really want to do this? And he was just like, the entire way he never doubted himself. I was just like, yeah, I would love to. But I'm very grateful that we did the casting call. I'm very happy it worked out because for the casting call, even though we sent it out, I was just like, Jason, before we sent the casting call out, here's like a few people that I know that I was like, we should probably just see why not, see what you think. And then of course, you're taping, and that makes me so happy. I think you were the first self tape that we sent in to Jason, or you were the first. Maybe you were the first. I know you were like the first 3 or so because we didn't put the official male casting out, but I mean, we saw what happened. So there's no doubt.
Thank you.
No doubt at all. What would you say is your best? No. We'll start off. What's your worst on-set experience? Yeah.
Worst on-set experience. Worst on-set experience.
You don't have to say the name of the production.
I won't. I think if I describe it,
it'll be known.
Yeah. I did it. Actually, I'm not gonna give like any specific impression because I don't want the people behind it to be like, oh, like why didn't he like
Honestly, even if you do, I'll just edit it out.
I was on crew. I was actually on the camera crew for it, and like you said, like like can I explore other things? So like usually like I'm not the one physically holding the camera. I'm kind of like, okay, like this is the kind of shot I want, so what I want to make it, and someone else can kind of like do it. So I was like, like let me get behind the camera for real and let me like genuinely try to do it. Because my previous only one was doing that horror comedy with my roommate, but he was the primary DP, and I was just kind of like by his side. So I was on the camera crew for it, and honestly, like it just showed me how important it is to really plan out a production. The production wasn't planned out; like it wasn't scripted. It was unscripted.
It wasn't scripted.
Yeah, and so but that's like, if you don't have the set ready and you don't know what the contestants or like what talent is going to do, then they really can't do anything, right? Like we worked with like an incredible cast, but it was like there were times where we sat there waiting for like, oh, like what game are we going to play? Like what are we doing? And it was just like, oh, like what's going on? And I think previously I had taken like, I know it's important to have logistics. I always knew that. Like I always knew it was important to have a really great producer behind the team, like a really great crew behind it. But I think that was the moment where I was like, oh, I really underestimated how important it is. Like I thought like as long as we get to set, then we're fine. Yeah. We'll figure it out. But that really showed me like how much. But it also made me step up a lot. Like I think like when people didn't know what to do, I was like, I was probably like 4th on the camera list or something. Like I was pretty low on it. But by the end of it, like it just kind of like it went up a little bit because it was just like, if no one else knows what to do, like I have to step up a little bit. But it got me out of my comfort zone. I'm like, I previously had never like fully DP'd before, right? Yeah. But like that was my first time where the DP left set early because he had like a conference or something, and he was like, all right, your turn. And I was like, dude, like there's like 7 cameras, like
worst feeling ever.
I don't know what to do. And he was like, no, like. He physically couldn't be there, so I understood why he had to leave. But I was like, he was like, no, like you got it, like you know what to do, like it'll be alright. And so that was my first time directing like a multi-cam setup.
That's cool.
So like I had a lot of fun. I guess it wasn't fun in the moment when there were like logistical issues and all that. But ultimately, it's still a learning experience.
Were you the technical director of it? Kind of. For that moment.
I guess kind of. Yeah, like kind of, but like not really. Cool. But it was a lot of fun, man. We shot in some crazy places. Like I had fun. It just there were times where it was just kind of like a realization of like, dude, like no one is having fun because no one knows what to do.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like we obviously all want what's best for the production, so it just gets a little frustrating when like some people take that for granted.
Absolutely.
But
it happens.
Yeah, I mean. Technically, I would say that's my worst set-on experience.
But even then, it sounds like you was learning.
Yeah,
you had
like time. Anytime I get to be on set, I'll have fun. Like unless I'm working with like I somehow like don't get along with any of the crew, which like I pray that never happens because low key like if I don't get along with any of the crew, that might be a me problem. But like I don't know.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think no matter what, like I always find like something fun out of it. Like I think the day like I stop having fun consistently having fun on sets is the day I'm gonna hang it up and be like I'm not doing it anymore. Like I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really great point. I feel like if I were doing other roles other than acting with the camera or DP, then I feel like I wouldn't be enjoying myself. I don't. I hope it's not an ego thing. I think it's more of. Honestly, I feel like it is kind of an ego thing, of really wanting to feel like I contribute to a project.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, every role is contributing. Every role is just as important. But I'm realizing now that if a project, I think the first 2 years I was just doing projects for everybody, doing favors, and if people need me, I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll do my weekend. But also at a certain point, it's like, well, I need money, of course, but also, I mean, we are sacrificing time.
Yeah.
And then, if I'm working on a project, either I really do want it to be my own, or I want it to be a project that I was
genuinely
had a part in.
Yeah, like I understand that. But honestly, like I feel like the ego thing is like, I feel like it's okay to have a little bit of an ego. Like you know, like some people like have like too much of it, or like it's harmful. But I think like, bro, like I'm gonna be honest. If you want to be an actor, I feel like you got to be a little bit narcissistic. You know, like you kind of have to have a little bit of an ego. So I understand that point on like, you want to feel like you really contribute. Because I was like, the biggest thing I don't like on set is when I see someone that like has dedicated their time to it, but they just sit there because no one has anything for them to do.
Yeah.
And it especially happens with PAs. Like, I work on like a social media type thing, like with ABCA, the new media program, Close Up, and I wanted to take like, I think we interviewed like 5-6 PAs, and I was like, I want to take all of them, and then I realized I was like, but what are they gonna do? Like, I don't want someone to feel like their name's gonna be on like the bottom of the call sheet, their name's gonna be at the bottom of the credits, and they didn't really do anything. Like, I think that's the worst feeling in the world. So I understand that point, but like honestly, like I think you gotta have a little bit of ego to work in this, like kind of a little bit.
Same thing with wanting to, it's like directing your own script or directing an adapted script. It's like, I mean, obviously if you're in a position to do either, it's very grateful. But it's one thing to be making your own thing and to call it your baby and to say, yeah, I made my own, or I made a project and I was able to get all these people on it and everything. So awesome. Or someone made this script, but I'm directing it and all that stuff. Like, it's really cool, but it's a special feeling for it to be your own project. Which is, and of course, everyone's trying to do that. And so everyone's trying to, and so I feel horrible asking people to be like, can you work on my project? Could you like to do this? But, I mean, it's a wonderful network here at USC. And it's a wonderful group of students that are always willing to do anything. So I'm happy that I even had those experiences, because I wouldn't have met the people that I know now if I wasn't, being on sets and if I wasn't filming favors and all that stuff. So I'm grateful for that. And now I'm realizing that someone else was in my position and they want that experience. I'm like, yeah, why not?
Yeah,
sure. But I don't want to take advantage. I want to make sure that they feel valued, they don't feel like wasting their time and all that stuff.
I feel like the worst sets I've been on, or like the worst, like I guess like the people I haven't really like working with, also it was always like favor for a favor. Like there is a transaction to it. Like it's like you dedicated your time to this, so then like I'll promise I'll do it for you. And I was just kind of like, like I don't think it should be a 1-to-1 ratio. And like it's like I'm paying you for something, right? It's like a lot of these student films are built on favors, right? And it's like I think the most genuine thing is like when like we worked on a project together, but not like we're just hanging out right now, we're doing a podcast, Like it's like this isn't like like I have to dedicate 2 hours to Trey right now. Like it's like I want to be here, And I think that's like the most important thing for me. Is like I want to make sure that like out of all the sets I work on, like at least one person, like I have someone that I'm like, I would hang out with you outside of this, like, and I don't feel like I have to be like, it's a transaction where it's like I have to pay you with my time.
Absolutely.
Because you gave me something else.
Yeah.
So I think like, especially in college, it's like there's like those two groups of people, right? It's like the ones that we just talked about, and then there's and maybe it's also because I'm in the business school. Like a lot of it is like built on handshakes. It's like
that makes sense.
I gave you something, you gotta give me something.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think like that really though I've seen now. I guess because I've been here, I'm almost at the end of my like I'm almost halfway through, which is kind of weird for me.
Killing it.
Thanks, man. I think like I'm seeing now like the effects of like the people who came in with the mindset of like it's a transaction. Like it's kind of I'm kind of seeing like how it's kind of backfiring on them, and it's kind of reassurance. I'm like, yeah, like I'm here to make friends, bro. Like I just want friends.
It's like a vibe, yo.
Yeah. So yeah.
It's a great point. What would you say is your favorite on-set experience? And then probably your favorite on-set memory too.
Oh, completely honest. I think the Moons did so much for me as an actor, because it gave me the confidence to be like I could take on these difficult topics, and that gives me the confidence to do really really cool projects like Helpless.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. Like I told you about the memory with Kat where she took me outside for that improv, like all that stuff, and honestly, like Calix was very hands-on, but he was very much like, this is your performance. Like he was giving me notes, obviously he was giving me feedback, but he was very much like, this is your performance, I want you to do it the way you would do it.
Yeah.
I'll tweak some things here and there, but like ultimately this is your creative output.
For you.
So that was a lot of fun. I think a recent like specific memory would be the 310 project I just worked on last semester. It's called Asian Invasion.
Okay.
It's about two Asian kids who like invade their like elderly neighbor's house, but it's such a wacky part. It's so funny. I'll send you the link, bro. Like the director, he's so funny, and it's just like it's a wacky thing, man. At the premise of it, it's two young teenagers beating up an old man. Like honestly, that's what it is.
That's crazy.
But like that was a lot of fun. Like the acting was a lot of fun. I think my favorite memory was like we had so the plot is like the old man has stolen this guy's mom. Like his mom is like remarried to this old guy, and he like hates him because this old guy's like tormented him his whole life. He's just like a bully, and so he brings me, his friend. We invade his house, and so the first thing is we think it's him, so he starts beating up this person, and it's actually his mom. But obviously we didn't cast the mom because the mom just like gets beaten up, and she's like he basically kills her.
Okay.
So we had a doll, and the director, the first thing he did when I met him, he like got us dinner, but he was like, oh, let's talk about the film, let's talk about the characters, right? And the first thing he did was, he was like, he didn't greet me at the door. He was like, oh, come upstairs to my room, because it was his house. And I was like, okay, like this is kind of weird, like what? I open the door, it's the doll right there, like, and it's got like stab wounds and it's bleeding, and it was just so funny. It was so funny. And it's just like that wacky nature really translated on set, because it's, I mean, like we knew like it's entertaining, funny, like it's like it's stupid short, you know, it's like that's what it's supposed to be, and I think like that just really amped up the vibes. It's like, yeah, like we're beating up a doll right now, like
the vibe.
Yeah, that's probably like a recent memory that was like that's really something.
I have to watch
it. Dude, it was so funny. It was so funny.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
true.
Who is your favorite actor, or who's your favorite actors?
I mean, I think like the first person that comes to mind, and this is partially because of like my childhood, but it's also partially like because I just really, really honestly aspire to have like the range that he does. It's like Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
Like, I think he was one of the first actors where I watched the movie and I was like, oh, I genuinely felt like I was like there with him.
That's awesome.
He's
such a
he's so talented, and it's just like the variety of projects I've seen him in. You know, like I've seen him like as a soldier, I've seen him in like Boom,
it's been genuine.
I've seen him as Spider-Man. Like it's like there are so many things he's done that I really, really look up to. Yeah, man, I think he's one of them that's really informed like how I approach characters. It's also like, you know, like sometimes I don't know if you get this itch, but like sometimes I watch scenes in movies and I'm like, damn, I wish I had a script that was like that. Like The Social Network, you know, like when he starts crashing out when he goes in the back in the office, like I was like, oh, I wish I could do a scene like that.
Written exactly so I can do exactly that.
Exactly, but you know, like it's kind of like people will be like, oh, like that's like inauthentic, whatever. Like, no, it's not here. But I'm like I watched that and that was kind of like how I felt about Moon's and Helpless. I was like, oh, like I am getting these moments.
You are getting that moment, yeah.
And so that was really, really cool for me. So he's definitely someone I really look up to. I mean, like, yeah, man, he's like the primary one. Like, I mean, like, I love Timothy Chalamet completely. Like, I actually really like that guy. Like, I think he's the guy. Like,
that's what I'm talking about.
And like that's like, I was joking with my roommate. I was like, you know, like, how can Timmy get so much success when he's still in his 20s? Like, I'm trying to get like that, you know?
I'm
like
trying to get like Timmy.
Exactly,
dude.
bro. So I think like, I mean, like obviously like when there's like a new actor, like there's a new way, people are gonna be like, oh, like we can't like say like he's a great yet, but it's like I think just like watching
He's establishing
how,
himself.
yeah, and like also the way he holds himself outside of the movies, right? Like the personality he has behind himself. Like it's just a cool dude. I think like that's who I want to be. Is like beyond just being a great performer, like someone that people like enjoy talking to, someone that people like enjoy working with. Yeah. So I think those two primarily. I mean, I could go on and on. Like, there's so many people I look up to.
Glad that you mentioned that name. Because my friends bother me all the time because I talk about Timothy all the time. I love Timothy. I'm a huge fan of Timothy. Mr. Chalamet. I mean, I don't even know if he has 20 movies under his belt. I don't know if he does. But he's already, been nominated however many times for the Oscar already.
Yeah.
And he's been in so many award-winning films. His filmography already is stellar.
Yeah.
And he's already locked up for more, of course. And it's just, he's absolutely the go. Obviously, he's one of those people where not only is he motivating as a young actor, but I mean also is quite intimidating because he's going to be if he were to win an Oscar, he'd be the youngest Oscar winner ever. Like, that's terrifying for myself because I'm 21. I'm like, you know, it's only an 8-year difference. I'm like, best case scenario, I would love to get to that point.
Yeah.
Maybe even sooner, but I wouldn't know how best to reach that. But I mean, with Timothy, just absolutely stellar. And I completely relate to that feeling of whenever I see a scene or I see a film, I'm like, I really wish I had that. Right? I wish that was Dune Part 2, dude. Coming out of the theater for that film, seeing his rage scenes, not his rage scenes, seeing his when he was when he became the
You already know what I'm talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Oh my god, when he delivered that scene, that immediately I was like, I hope and I aspire one day to have a scene written for me that gives me those vibes or gives me those goosebumps that I just felt. I hope someone one day watches me on the screen and it feels the exact same way I just did with Timothy because, oh my gosh, it was
great,
unbelievable. No, I feel that. Which is also continue.
No, I was just gonna say I think that's the reason why I like him so much is because I feel like he hasn't boxed him he hasn't started having boxed him into a stereotypical this is how Timothy looks. He's just gonna play a soft French boy, you know, he's actually Willy Wonka everywhere.
It's so weird because I came into that movie not expecting anything. I don't know how much of a fan I was with Timothy. Well, no, I think Wonka was Wonka before Dune? I think Wonka was after Dune. I think Wonka may have been before Dune. Either way,
it was no, it was
what?
It was before because Wonka came out
Wonka was December.
In December, and then Dune came out in
that's crazy.
February, March.
Yeah, so Wonka, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Wonka, I was so my friends again make fun of me. Wonka came out and I watched it and I was like, for some reason I just really loved Timmy in this role. I feel like this probably made him uncomfortable as an actor and somehow he delivered and then to see him deliver the performance of Dune Part 2 and to be a completely different spectrum and to make me feel the exact same way, I'm like, that's just what I want to be as an actor, where I can give you two different performances of a completely different range, genre, and you feel the exact same way where you come out satisfied. You're like, okay, I believed it. I believed it for sure. Yeah, no. I was gonna say that. That's also why I feel like being a writer is so instrumental, because I feel like you could write yourself those scenes too.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have if you have the resources, you can give yourself those moments.
Yeah.
That'd be cool as hell.
Yeah, it would
Cool
be.
as hell. But for this semester, I mean, how you feeling?
I mean, I honestly like this semester has been like my busiest yet. Like
That's good.
but it's not primarily school that's busy. You know,
Okay.
like I was talking about the internship already. Like, and then it's just like the amount of parts that I have coming up. I think are very very exciting. They're very like I'm very motivated, I guess, to create. So. Yeah, I'm excited. Like I kind of anticipated that spring semester because the course would be a little lighter.
Of course.
That I would have more time to be exploring these things. So, yeah, dude, I'm excited. And I think like I'm more motivated than ever to create. And I think the reason why is because I feel like freshman year I was kind of like paying my dues in terms of like I've been doing theater my whole life. I've never touched film before. I only touched film like a camera for like a YouTube video. I think it's there are some skills transferable, but it's very different, right? So
Absolutely.
I think like freshman year, I always like everything I made freshman year. I was like, oh, I could have done better,
Okay.
because I was like, oh, like I didn't know this in the moment. I learned this in the moment, and I think one thing I think I'm still struggling with is like when I make things, I kind of think about like, oh, like how proud of it realistically should I be? Obviously, I'm proud that I made anything to begin with, right? But I always feel like I'm like, oh, like I'm so close. I'm so close. Like if this one thing was better, if this one thing, and like I think I get stuck in that mindset sometimes, and it's just like that's not like obviously that's not healthy, right? Like all that, but for like once I actually have a lot more. I feel like confidence in myself now with what I'm making because I'm like I kind of get it now, you know, like. I did a thing for APC. I did it's part of a web series. I did an episode with my roommate.
ABC?
APCA, sorry.
Oh,
No, not ABC, not ABC. No. I'm not playing in
You
the
didn't mention that.
I'm not playing in the big leagues yet. One day.
Absolutely.
APCA, I did a thing for that, and we were looking at the shots because we had a real nice camera. And I looked at the shots. I was like, dude, like I feel like for once I was like, I get it.
I feel competent.
Yeah, like when the actors were on set, I was never like, oh, like I don't know what this means. Like I don't know what to do. Like I was very much like I was like, this is what the script says. This is how we planned it out. We planned it out well, despite a short timeline. And I was like, I get how to conduct myself now. Obviously, I have so much more to learn. There's so much more I can improve on. But I feel like this semester is the first time when I go on set, like I'm comfortable now. Like I know what to do, kind of.
Awesome.
And that's gonna bring more opportunity to learn a lot more things.
Imagine where you are in 2 years.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
No, I feel you. Being harsh on myself all the time. I feel like that's something that definitely plagued me like sophomore and junior year. I feel like that was always stopping me from doing whatever project I wanted to do. And this year, the past semester, making a film was, there was always a block, or I think a blocker in my head that was just like, you can't do it. You're just not capable of doing that. And there was a bunch of clubs or stuff that always have like directing opportunities.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to apply, but I was just like, I don't think I can do that. And so always been like, you can probably do maybe an assistant camera or do something else. And so that's cool that you were just like, I'll be applying to those roles, because I wasn't doing that. I was not doing that.
I do think though a big thing was that because like I felt very comfortable in APCA and like what roles they were giving out. Like I do now. I'm like, okay, like I kind of do need to branch out a little bit more. Like I'm talking, like a lot of the films are about being Asian again, right? I think it's important to do, but I'm like I don't want my entire world.
Define you.
Yeah, I don't want that. I don't want every single thing I do, whether it be acting, directing, or any other profession, to be just being about that. I think that's like a little bit too far.
You want to just have fun. You just want to
exactly. So, but I do think like I'm very very grateful for that club because I think like they gave me opportunities where I could safely like start from the very like they were the training wheels basically. So like I feel like now like I can kind of take the training wheels off and learn to like bike without them for the first time.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
that's awesome, man. What do you want to create?
My ultimate, so I want to do the feature film, right? Like I want to do like that for myself. But I think like beyond that, and actually I thought about this because one of the BCA guest speakers that we had in class brought it up. He was like, oh, like he won an Oscar for Manchester by the Sea, and he was like, wow. But then he said, he was like, I'm grateful I won it so late in my career, like when I'm like about to hit like retirement age. And I was like, well, like I'm thinking like, well, like I want to win like now, you know, like I want to win.
5 years. Yeah.
And he was like, and he said like, I think if I had won when I was 25, I would have been scared that nothing else
would surpass that.
Exactly. So if you work from, let's say like when you're 20 now until, let's say you stay in the film industry until you're like 50, right? It's not even that long. 30 years, if you win in the first fraction of it, what if none of your other projects win an Oscar, right? Like
then you feel like, what am I working for? Right?
Exactly. It's like kind of like what happened, right?
Yeah.
So I think like I do want to make sure that like I branch out and do other ventures. So like a big dream of mine is like to make like a media production company where you can do the films, but it's like I genuinely do want to do like ads, music videos, like all that, like Lyrical Lemonade, like those types of companies, like I really, really look up to, because I'm like, at the end of the day, like these are just still teenagers with cameras, and they decided to make something for their friends or whatever, but you know, being able to grow that into a business that now can do like, I mean, I always use Cole Bennett as an example, because I feel like he's like, he took it, man, like, and it's like, he's doing like Minions ads now, and I'm like, that's like the most random crossover, but it's like, I mean,
why not?
He really did it, right? So I think like after the feature, that is, and I'm like, if I kind of like, oh, like I've kind of achieved what I wanted to achieve in the feature film space. Obviously, I would never hang it up if I'm still having fun, but that would be the next step ultimately for me. And I think that would, in a dream scenario, that would be like the fulfilling part of it.
It's achievable.
Because in that way, like I can also like, if there's a company underneath, then you can give the creatives another opportunity.
Yes,
it's like paying it back, you know, like it's kind of like creating opportunities that ABC gave me.
Absolutely.
If I do it on a
That's
national
really
scale
cool.
and all that, so.
That's really cool. Wanting to create like a PG night or something like that.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly
cool
that.
right there. Absolutely. Do you feel like you, obviously, you know, we're young actors, but you feel like you've been, you know, it's constantly on your mind when it comes to like awards and, you know, accolades and all that stuff. Like you think about it all the time.
I think this answer may change when we get to like the big leagues. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
I think like
That's okay.
if I'm seriously like, if in a dream world, if I like actually get nominated for an Oscar, like like I want to win. Like I want to win. Like I think
I'm gonna be depressed.
exactly right. It's like, you know, it's like some of those people like only get nominated and never win. I'm like, damn, like
I don't want to think
I
about
don't want to do that. But at the current moment, like for example, for Moons, like I didn't even know we got submitted to festivals. So when Caleb texted us and he was like, "Oh, by the way, like
It's a weird feeling.
you know,"
Because he said that, and I was just like, okay, so a film that we've worked on won an award. It's a weird feeling.
like I was like, people watched it. Like someone saw that and they liked it. I was like, that's so weird. I think right now where I'm at, because I'm so new to film. Like submitting to a festival, I think is cool. Whatever. It's like all that. I think the biggest thing for me, like I have such like, I told you about my mom, I told you about my family already, but like my friends here, like I have such a supportive friend group. A lot of them who do really like watching movies, and so like anytime any of us make anything, not just me but like someone else, we'll watch it all together.
That's wonderful.
And I think that's the coolest thing, man. It's like when Helpless comes out, like I'm gonna put it on the TV and we're all gonna watch it, and just like seeing like how they would react to it, I think that's like the most important thing for
all
me.
I need.
Exactly. Like I can't wait for like when we make it, bro, and we have a premiere, and it's like, oh, like you could invite whoever you want. Like I can't wait to invite people
everybody
and watch like and see like how they react to the work. You know, I think that ultimately has like taken over any feeling of needing like a trophy Versus I feel like when I played sports, it's like I mean like yeah like
You're
I want the
working towards
trophy,
it, of
you know,
course.
like, I want the trophy. But I think this is really powerful in terms of like it can move people in other ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, so much fun, and I think it makes it all worth it. Like even when I'm tired, and I'm like oh like, I don't want to show up to this early call time, but I'm like thinking like
It looks so
this
cool.
project means so much to all these other people. Like, and if someone watches it and they like really resonate with
Yeah,
it,
well,
that's
yeah, they want us to
all that matters.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I completely agree. Seeing my films or seeing projects I've worked on, I send it to my family every time, and every time they're so supportive, and that's really the most gratifying feeling of like, and then talking with my mom or dad about it on the phone, and they're making jokes about it. I'm like, this is the best feeling
Yeah.
ever because I'm so grateful. But no, I completely understand that. I think when I started off, I had a very premature view of acting, being like, okay, acting is really just to win awards, or the
Yeah.
goal, obviously is to get the EGOT, which is the goal. But and now it's like I really want. My goal right now is honestly, I want to watch a film with myself and not cringe and not
That's a good.
You
That's
know,
a good.
I
That's a
don't
great
wanna
goal. It's a great goal.
turn away
Yeah.
at any point in time. And so that's what I'm trying to work towards. You know what I mean? But we're gonna get there.
Yeah.
We're gonna get there.
I can't wait. I can't wait for that.
Can't
Dude.
wait. Man. And you said you do ads as well.
Yeah. Another like very essential part of my USC experience has been I joined TMG's Trojan Marketing Group. So it's like it's basically simulating an in-house agency. So we'll get clients, and then we do like fall semester we do like research, pitching, and then like ultimately research strategy forms into like campaign, like how do we communicate the ad, and then right now spring semester is like our production season. So like we pitch the client, we think about like what ads we're gonna do, what social media content, what long form ad, whatever. So we're in production season now. I'm really excited, man. Working. This year my client is a skincare company.
Cool.
So we're doing like a skincare ad about like passing down products through like generations, all that.
Okay.
And then we're also working on a project for USC Credit Union.
That's cool, dude.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun because it's like I think it's like it's very different. But I take a lot of the skills I've learned from filmmaking and doing these narrative films, and it's like I mean the ad itself is also a narrative, so it's just a different form of it. So yeah, I mean I have a lot of fun with it. Production's a production, man. I don't know.
Productions.
Yeah, so it's definitely different vibes too. Like when you don't need to get these things out, like it's like I mean for the ad we're shooting, it's like like we're gonna get it done in 6 hours. It's each shot's gonna be in 5 seconds, but it's like the intentionality and everything that goes into those 5 seconds.
You gotta be
is
just
so
effective. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely looking forward to that.
How many ads have you done?
Like made.
Yeah.
I've only done one for TMG last year.
Yeah.
It was for a client. It didn't work out just because like I actually don't know where the client is now. I don't know what the business is.
Okay.
And that was also like I think the club is in a really weird period. It's a bit of it was a rougher period last year because of COVID, they recruited a lot of the class of. What's your class year? It's 2025, right?
It's 2025.
Yeah, they recruited a lot of class of 2025, and a lot of juniors want to go abroad. So we had like
a lot of them left.
Yeah, so we had like half the club there, and I was really in the thick of it. Like I had one other dude, and we were like, okay, we got to make a 1 minute ad for this company. We got to have 3 locations, all the talent, all that. But he was amazing. Like he's probably like one of like I think the most gifted filmmakers at USC.
That's cool.
But so I just like did like more like producerial stuff, like logistics stuff. But just watching him operate, like I remember I was like, oh, you want a storyboard? He goes, oh, I don't storyboard. Like I just go where I take the camera like where I feel like it should go.
That's kind of awesome.
He's gonna if he listens to this, he's gonna be like, that's not what I said. But it's like I was like, that's kind of what you said, bro. Like that's essentially what you said.
Don't get me wrong.
So like I mean like things like that are very very fun for me, and I think I watch how he operates in that space, and it's like okay, like how do I apply that now if I'm directing a short film?
Yeah.
I'm gonna use boards. Like I think I need it, but like I think like that. Yeah, watching how he conducted himself, especially like in that fast-paced setting, because also adds like the turnaround is faster, right?
Absolutely.
So that fast-paced environment, I feel like is like really really good for me. Also learning to being like on production. So sets.
Okay. How are you trying to, I guess, balance your time as a creative and then as an academic?
I think that honestly the easiest thing for me on set is like when I act, like I dedicate weekends. Like I know the set amount of time I have to dedicate to this role.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, if I need more, like for Helpless, I took a lot more time to prepare before we shot. There are some sets, I'm not gonna lie, I walk on it. I get the part, I get the script, I learn my lines, and I just walk on and do it. Helpless, I remember I spent a lot of time at night, the night before. I was like, okay, I really have to think about where I am. How am I gonna portray this character? Honestly, I think the biggest thing, man, is like, maybe it's also because I have yet to have a project that like has like completely consumed me. It can consume my time, it can consume my energy, but I haven't had one that I'm like so into. But I also feel like I don't know if I would want to get there, because it's like I want other things too, you know. Like I want to keep my family close. I want to be sure I'm making time for other people. So like, I don't know if I want something to like completely take over like my life. So I think establishing that boundary of like I enjoy creating and I want to dedicate a lot of time in my life to this, to a point. But it's all, yeah, like I have to make time for other things. I have to make time for other interests, because I also think that that's what helps me create. I feel like if I didn't go to school here and I just locked myself in a room and was like, you have to make a film, it would be horrible, because I just wouldn't know what to do outside of it. It would just never leave it. So, I don't know, like I kind of enjoy being a student. Like I feel like I learn a lot. I have a lot of fun doing it. Obviously, like we have like midterms and all that, so that's like that's not fun. But like overall, I feel like it's really motivated me. It's enlightened me to like a lot of different experiences, a lot of events that I didn't know happened. Things like that, and they just kind of inspire me to just like keep creating more. So
I have an improv class this semester, and it's been my favorite experience of all 4 years. And it's been like the first time where I'm like, academics can be absolutely exciting. It can be so genuinely cool and feel like it doesn't feel like work, or it doesn't feel like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's taxing or whatnot.
Yeah.
Which is why I wish I freaking did dramatic arts, because I feel
awesome.
like every class would have been amazing. But no, I completely agree with that, where if I'm not right mentally, or if I'm not in the right space to even, but if I don't feel like I have time to work, or if I don't feel like I have time for academics and just tired or whatnot, why would that energy, why would I feel even better if I was acting or whatnot? It's not.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm still gonna be just as depressed, so I'm gonna feel crazy.
If anything, I think you would maybe even be more depressed, because it's like, oh, I really love this, but like, why am I so tired of it?
Yeah, I'm not even devoting myself to it.
Exactly.
So it's just I feel worse, and so I completely agree with that. Absolutely.
But yeah, that's another thing I want to do. When the schedule gets a little bit looser, I want to take an acting class. Like I think, dude, I've been out of like the training and the learning part of it. So like my learning has been from working with directors on set.
Me too, man.
I think I need to get back in that. You know.
I agree. I haven't really had any like acting training, but like the improv has been like the first time I feel like I've had any training at all.
Yeah.
Which is why it's been so gratifying.
Oh, from watching your stuff, like I can't even tell. Like honestly, like I was like, yeah, I can't even tell, man. You're great. Yeah.
I'm trying to consume as much as possible, but also working with actors like yourself, which makes it really easy. But then learning about different things of like, just seeing those performances, and then seeing like with Helpless and being like, that's a choice that I wouldn't have even thought to do.
Yeah.
With a certain scene, and so I feel like I'm constantly absorbing all of that, and then also working with directors, like working with Jason and stuff, learning how to talk about how to talk to actors, and then also just directing as a whole. It's constantly wanting to learn, constantly wanting to apply that stuff for sure, but also making sure that I have opportunities to practice those hands-on and not being scared anymore. You know, like you said, it's just like we're gonna keep going. We're just gonna keep challenging ourselves with more stuff.
Yeah.
Man. Woof. It's 6 o'clock on the dot.
Yeah.
Do you feel like?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Do you have anything else? Like last thoughts?
What are you most proud of for yourself?
overall.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, like, I think this is kind of going to go back to like our conversation about feeling the need for like awards and that validation. I think the proudest thing I got from it's happened twice so far. It happened one time with the musical, and it happened fall semester this year when I first screened that film I told you about, like the beginner program. I don't think it's a very good film. Like I watched it, I was like, I don't think this is good at all.
Doesn't matter.
But like my friends came to the screening, my friends came to the screening with me, and they watched it, and like when funny things happen, they laugh. When something sad happens, they go, oh, like, you know, like when like a character said something, like, and I wrote it, I was like, oh, someone's gonna react to this, and they went, oh, like, I can't believe that. And then like now, like, I mean, you talk about like your parents like make like jokes about it, like it's like inside references, you know, like people,
That's
like
awesome.
we reference the film, and it's like objectively, I told you, like, I struggle kind of like with the work is kind of like, oh, I could have done better with that script, I could have done better with the film, but it's like overall, like someone close to me that I really care about watched it and liked it, and ultimately, that's all that matters. So I think, yeah, it's happened twice so far, and I just hopefully, you know, like get that feeling again
Keep happening.
on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
And I ultimately like the way I talk about like how that Spider-Man movie inspired me when we started this.
Someone's gonna feel that.
The
way
ultimate
about your
goal,
performance.
yeah, is a kid does something like this, and he says, "I watched this movie, and this is what inspired me." Like, and that, like, oh, that's all I need.
What do you hope to be less harsh on yourself about, like in the future, in the near future?
I think like you know how I told you about like how differently I approached my performance in Moons and Helpless. Like I was very proud of Moons, and I was like, oh, like I understand like this is something I could have done better. So then I applied it to Helpless. I think like I don't think I should stop being harsh on myself, because I think then I'll get too complacent and I won't strive to improve on things. I won't strive to learn things. But like recognizing those small moments of growth where I was like, I genuinely like I felt it more.
Yeah.
Despite us being on that beach and I was shivering, like it was so cold, but I felt it so much more than I did in that kitchen.
Yeah.
On like, and so I think like recognizing those small moments of growth are like a lot more important to me now. And so yeah, I think that's kind of like the way I need to take it, instead of, you know, only kind of dogging on myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
This kind of bounces, but I think right now, like the overarching one is Parasite.
Ooh. That's a really good one.
I think Parasite is just a roller coaster of like so many things.
Favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show? Ooh. There's a few, man. I think one that I like genuinely really enjoyed is probably like The Good Place.
Okay.
And
I only watched like the first couple of episodes, I think.
that one though, it was low key one I kind of forgot about. Like when people ask my favorite, I've traditionally said things like, I don't know, like things like beef.
That's fantastic.
Love that show. But then I think maybe someone else said that their favorite show was The Good Place, and then I thought I was like, oh, I had a really good time watching that. Like, I really liked that show, so that's one of them as well. Yeah, I have quite a few. But
who's your favorite director?
Right, I don't even want to get started on it. Like this is gonna like go down like a huge rabbit hole. I mean, like I personally like, I'm like, if I could get to like the Nolan level, like that's incredible. I mean, I don't know, dude. I look up to so many directors. Like one director I will say that I've recently been following that I really really like. He goes by Onda. He doesn't do movies.
Okay.
He well, I mean, now I'm not gonna say I'm a fan of him, but like he's done a few things for Kanye.
Okay.
Like whatever. But he did. I think the thing that solidified it for me was he did two campaigns. He did one for this fashion brand, Rivington, and then he did Anthony Edwards. I don't know if you've seen the ads he's done for his shoes.
Yes.
It's like always like a peach colored background.
Yes.
He did all
He's
those,
done those.
and that I was like,
Those are the really
wow,
cool.
like
Cool.
yeah, and it's so timely. It's always on top of like exactly what's happening in the moment, and I think it's like a different approach to sneaker advertising that like it's a breath of fresh air. And so he's a director.
I've seen high praise for those commercials.
Yeah, so I like it's not. I mean, it's not just him dunking the ball, being like, "Oh, these shoes make me jump high." Like he's doing other things too.
Absolutely,
it's a lot of storytelling. So, yeah, that's a director I really look up to right now. That I've found recently.
I know we're about to end, but one thing I've noticed is that your fashion is always on point. I'm just saying. Would you ever want to do, Tyler the Creator level stuff?
Yeah,
I could definitely envision you.
I actually had a brief stint with my friends freshman year where like, oh, we're gonna make a clothing brand. We ended up not happening because I was like, let me dedicate film first. I was like, let me get my priorities straight. Like I gotta, but like I told you, like I think a big thing for me is like ultimately I just want to create things, right?
Yeah.
And so like I'm prioritizing film as my goal now. I was really like looking. I really like reflected on it. I was like, this is something I really want to do. So I want to dedicate myself to it. But it's like, again, like, like, if I achieve some of these goals, like, I need to find other ones. And so, like, I feel like with Tyler, for example, like, ultimately music was, like, his number one thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, once you kind of have achieved some of the things you want to achieve with music, then you can kind of branch off and use that.
Absolutely.
And really use, like, that platform. So, yeah, I mean, that's always on the table. Like I think maybe one of the reasons why I want to do ads is like I want to do ads for my favorite brands.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do these clothing ads, like these brands that I put on my body. Like I want to like the next collection.
I want to represent
those ads. So, yeah.
You model?
I mean, I could try. I haven't done like modeling training. Like that hasn't been a realm that I've like really explored.
Yeah.
If anyone got a brand that they want, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll happily do it. So, yeah.
Andrew, thank you so much, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
Thank you, bros.
Appreciate it.
You're awesome every single time, my guy.
Got you.
Every single time.